I think someone said in a podcast the other day, one day you're walking around like thinking you're Elon Musk, and the next day you are lying on the floor looking at the ceiling going, what the have I done?
What a week.
Yeah. Feels like we've been punched by Mike Tyson a little.
Yeah, so I mean, we'll walk you through the whole story, but there's a reason why we didn't record last week's podcast. Now and again in business, you just get reminded of the game you're playing. And last week was one of those weeks. It was like a little bittersweet. Emotions, I mean, there are so many emotions at play last week. I'm not really sure how I feel all about it this week. I'm taking it all as a positive. But in this episode today, we thought it'd be important that we talk through everything that has been going on over the last month and what it ended up culminating into last week.
I like to use the phrase, we got humbled last week.
Yeah.
You know, what one day you think you're the man and the next you think you're definitely not. I think someone said in a podcast the other day, one day you're walking around like thinking you're Elon Musk, and the next day you are lying on the floor looking at the ceiling going, what the have I done?
And it's one of those things where I said to my wife, like, the whole process to where we are right now has been so streamlined and has been so like we've thought about every little single thing, right? And just last week was just one thing that I think we just let maybe slide, or maybe not slide, that's possibly not the right way of saying it, but like it's one of those weeks where you kind of, like you said, you get your feet are back on the ground again.
Yeah.
So for those of you who don't know obviously what's going on, shall we set the scene right from the beginning? Where was it, like 3-4 weeks ago?
3-4 weeks ago, Jake and I say, let's go back even further.
Whoa, okay.
So we're full at Revamp here. We've got a lovely little 900 square foot studio that we're filming this in right now. The podcast equipment just about fits in here.
Thank you, Henry.
Well done, H. And we believe that, do you know what? We need to either hit 2 sites or we need to get something bigger for 1 site, right?
I heard somebody, again, on a podcast talk about the different options of scaling. And I use this analogy a lot where you can either build a strip mall, which is like a large service area of multiple different sites, right? Or you can build vertically, which is like a tower block, and you can build something bigger to then accommodate more people. And yeah, we opted for the latter.
Yeah, so we went bigger, and an amazing site come up, which is bang on 4 miles away, 8 minutes away from our front door here, right, at Revamp. I timed it many times going the speed limit, right? And we went to see this place twice. It was beautiful. So brand new floors. It was air conditioning in every room. It's going to have toilets and showers. Basically everything that we feel Revamp might have lacked, this place was going to have for our members, which we were really excited about. So after going through P&L projections and looking at initials and everything like that, we decided, cool, let's shake hands on this deal. But before we sign anything, we have to talk to everyone in our community.
Yeah,
right?
So there was an order of how we wanted everything laid out. So like number one, we just needed to make sure coaches were on side, because obviously they've been a huge part of what we've done so far. So we needed to make sure that they were happy first and foremost. Another one was obviously get to a point with this other site where it was a go, right? We agreed on the terms, everything like that. But then the last piece of the puzzle, and actually again naively a piece that we thought would just be a breeze, was involving the members. And do you want to talk about kind of our heads were everywhere last week. So just, again, to give you context, the reason why we didn't record this podcast last week was because we started recording it for about 5 minutes. I just basically just switched off. I was completely distracted. And I think we both were.
Yeah.
And poor Henry, bless him, he's sitting down here right now. We had to send him home after recording and setting everything up because we just weren't in the headspace to record.
Yeah.
And obviously this was a big reason as to why. So we're like, okay, right, we need to tell coaches. So we told coaches, tick. We need to obviously agree on the terms and everything with the actual site. So that was, again, tick. Now we need to speak to members. But we were locking horns a little bit in terms of actually how do we approach those members with this new opportunity in a way that is going to get us the outcome we're looking for, which wasn't necessarily confirmation that we can move. More so, we wanted members to all be on board with the decision. So how are we going to facilitate, whether that be an in-person meeting or one-to-one conversations with members or online Zoom meeting or whatever, to a point where we can actually gather valid data to support our decision moving?
I think before we go into that, I'll talk a bit about the data. Going into, so right now, this beautiful little studio is about 6K a month. It costs us in costs. Going into the bigger site, it would have been about 16 to 17K.
So it wasn't necessarily a step forward. It was a leap.
It was a big leap back to then ideally take 2 or 3 forward, right? But we could 3x the capacity that we currently have now, which is tick. And we believe that we could certainly do that. The issue is we projected around 20% churn from making this move in our P&L, which said we'd lose, give or take, around 48K in the first year. Okay. So anything under 80 would have been disappointing, but anything under 20 would have been disappointing in terms of churn. But what we decided to do after going backs and forwards to each other, we were like, do we do this on Zoom? My number one was getting everyone in the room to the actual location and doing it face to face and showing them how awesome it was. That's what I really wanted to do. But we're kind of against time because we had heads of terms sitting there ready to go, which obviously we needed to sign, but we couldn't sign without the okay with the members and coaches and everyone else. So what we decided to do, heads of terms landed on our desk on Friday. We're going to look at them over the weekend, get back to the agent and say, yeah, we're happy with those, which we did on Monday with a couple of questions that we needed to clarify. And then we decided to do, the landlord kindly gave us access to the big location from 4 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. or was it 9 p.m. Sorry, on Tuesday evening last week. Right?
So Tuesday, again, to give context, is the day that we record this podcast.
Yeah.
Which is why, obviously, this was on our mind. So that's why we cut it short.
So Tuesday was D-Day. So what we did was we got loads of meetings lined up for that time in the studio. So the first one, for example, we actually had family in. Your wife, my wife, and kids come down, which was really nice. They got to see it because we had to do it all in the same.
It just makes me laugh now.
Yeah, we all had to do it in the same few hours because that was the only time the landlord would have granted access. Plus, like, we had to sign heads of terms ideally within a few days of this.
Yeah.
So we got them down, and then I had 4 contractors come down to look at the refurb of the toilets and showers, to look at the security system we're putting in, all of that stuff.
Like, there was a feeling of it was buzzing, wasn't it? Like excitement within the new space. Like, family were there, kids were running around, contractors were there telling us what we should and shouldn't do and how it might look. Everything was kind of like, okay, this is a pivotal moment.
To me, at that point, it was like, it's going to happen.
Yeah.
Like, as soon as 8:45, 9 o'clock finishes tonight, and the members are all good with this because they're going to love it.
Yeah.
It's going to happen, right?
Yeah.
So, and then we had coaches come in. So all of our coaches joined us. We toured them the space. They're really excited. Like, this place, guys, just for context, was going to hold a small group product, a large group product, a reformer product. It was going to have a custom podcast studio. It was going to have pretty much. It was going to have a really nice, like, co-working space. Like, I'm gonna cry. I'm gonna cry thinking about it. And it was going to have all this stuff. And we'd planned all of this. We were thinking about coaches and stuff, but we needed the okay from our community, which is the most important thing. So
and then we haven't mentioned that, like, Henry came down as well. So.
Oh, this is now embarrassing.
Henry is, as you guys know, the main man. Comes to set up all the recording gear, records us, exports all of the footage for us. Basically, whenever we need any photos or videos taken, he is there. So obviously, it made sense to get him down to the news site as well, because we thought, again, with an allocated time at this news site, knowing me and you, we need to get everything ticked off and ready. So there we were, filming like a promotional type video in the news space, saying, here it is, guys. Like, this is an amazing.
We were going to make this amazing cinematic
slow motion, shots of us moving around the news site. And the problem is, I mean, obviously we won't fast forward to the end just yet. But a lot of that footage still remains to this day, and I haven't looked at it.
Yeah, don't look at it. Henry, throw it away.
Yeah.
So we had Henry down, and then we thought, well, go back to mine for some dinner. Went back to mine for some dinner. Got ready.
Thank you, Cardy.
And on the way, Jake asked me a question. He said, "Are you nervous?" And I said, "About what? The whole thing?" And Jake went, "No, tonight, talking to members." I went, "No." In my mind, this was formality, right?
Right.
Formality.
And then we get to the site. We open up. It's just me and you in this huge building. And we throw on our laptop. We ended up deciding on Zoom because we thought what we need from this meeting is as many people to vote on whether we want to move or want to stay. And we don't necessarily reach that outcome if we were to invite everybody in person, because we thought, with not a lot of notice, maybe 10, 20 people would turn up.
Out of 80 people. Yeah.
And even if 10, 20 people say yes, it's still a lot of people we haven't heard from. So what we needed from this meeting was attendance and votes, because that, for us, was going to give us a clearer picture as to whether we could actually do it or not. So we ended up opting for a Zoom meeting. It was during the Ipswich game against Coventry, which, if you're around here, obviously there's been a few very important games for Ipswich in the lead up to obviously them getting promoted. But we ended up, I don't know, by chance, scheduling this meeting for 8:45, which was like bang on half time. Opened up the laptop, opened up the Zoom meeting. Suddenly, waiting room was just filling up with people.
Yeah, I think we had 60 out of our 80 members actually turn up to this Zoom, which is pretty unreal.
And by the way, we marketed this as a secret emergency meeting. It's good news. It's an emergency meeting. We need every single person to attend. Right? So there we were. 8:45 comes around. I'm telling you, like, how do we make sure everyone's on mute? Because there's 50 or 60 people about to enter this Zoom meeting and they're going to all be like talking and stuff. It's going to be carnage. Worked out how to mute everybody for a Zoom call. Number one priority. Then everybody comes on board. And then, do you want to
the hilarious thing about this is we use Google Meet for all of our coaching. And we didn't actually have the paid version of Zoom. So Jake was like, how many people can actually come in a Zoom? So we were quickly Googling how many could actually.
100 is the
turns
number.
out 103 Zooms.
But like, again, at this point, everybody was there in the waiting room. I was taking pictures of the laptop thinking this is going to be a great story to tell. Yeah. I've still got those on my phone. And then, so the meeting started at 8:45. And I mean, you were... Whenever we have to address members or clients or customers, whatever like that, you're always like the go-to because you're very professional when you want to be, and you talk through things very clearly. You're able to get your point across very well. So I'll let you carry on the story. 8:45.
Well, 8:45, everyone shows up. Me and Jake are the only ones that are muted, and this is the final hurdle, right? This is the final hurdle. This is the last thing we just need to tick off. I thought completely routine. Get this done. And then we're off to the races,
and
right?
I'm glad the recording doesn't exist because I think at the beginning of that meeting we were grinning ear to ear.
Yeah.
We did it so that our faces showed up against a white wall and we were going to like do this massive big reveal. And so you talked through obviously why we've gathered everybody here, why it's important, why we needed everybody here in the first place, and then you went to actually talk about the new site.
Hey, quick one from us. If you're enjoying this episode, you'll love our free weekly newsletter.
It's for current and aspiring studio owners who are looking for the latest growth hacks to sign up more members and keep them.
It's a quick 2-minute email covering the stuff we're testing in our own gyms.
So you'll be getting access to what's working today.
If you're interested, you can join 3,500 gym owners and go to thefitpreneur.com and subscribe.
That's thefitpreneur.com. Anyway, back to the episode.
Yeah. And we thought it'd be a good idea to talk to the new site, and I'd walk around with a laptop in selfie mode.
Which, by the way, again, we had no Wi-Fi. So everything was 4G. And we quickly worked out that me kind of standing far away from you and it was hotspotting off my phone meant that the Zoom cut out. But again, those are small issues. We thought, this will all be fine.
It was carnage. And we showed everyone. We talked through what we thought in our minds. We got lots of I saw some people not be so excited when I mentioned the large group,
which makes me slightly embarrassed because you could see all of this, and I was in the background, like kind of like straddling the walls and things like that, kind of like doing like this whole kind of like cheesy The Price is Right reveal of each room, and you were starting to see some comments come through which weren't necessarily hugely positive. Meanwhile, I was in the back, like stroking a wall.
Yeah, I mean, I was seeing some. I don't know how we can switch off comments. I wish we did, because I was seeing some comments come in, and I was thinking, these aren't like, this looks amazing, guys, can't wait comments.
Yeah,
I don't understand what these these comments are.
Again, for context, we have a 900 square foot little studio on the high street where like 1 to 6 is the max in terms of, of a session. And it's very snug, right? And all the members would agree with that. We'd agree with that. So we were thinking, God, everybody seeing this huge space. I am like a little speck of dust in the background of that Zoom meeting. And I was thinking, this is what everybody wants.
Yeah. So I was whipping everyone through each room, showing them what we got, big smile on my face. And comments were starting to come in like, I'd have to leave because of X and Y. And I don't drive, so I have to leave Revamp and all this stuff. And then like 1 to 20 ? And I was like,
yeah, because obviously there's multiple different products.
I spoke about each product, and I probably went, in hindsight, probably too deep into each product.
Yeah.
But
no,
but I thought context matters. Yeah. And like context matters to members, and we want the vote to go down as honestly as possible, because otherwise we haven't got true data.
No.
So we did all this, and then we had to end it after about 15, 20 minutes, because we tried to keep it within half time of the Ipswich game. And we went, guys, so what we're going to do now, this was our plan. We'd had an email scheduled, ready to go to all members, which basically gives a breakdown, shows photos of the place, benefits, like all this stuff. And then a vote.
A link to a poll.
Yeah. Link to a poll where they could anonymously vote yes or no. But it would be anonymous to everyone, bar us, right? So we'd see the name and the yes or no. And so guys, you're going to get that in the next 5 minutes. Please just go through that and vote for us. Make sure this is something you want. We haven't signed anything yet. We won't do this without you. We want to make sure the majority of people are on side, right? And I've had friends who own businesses talk to me in the last week and say, why'd you do it like that? Why don't you just go? The thing they don't understand is like service-based businesses are very different. And if we just went and we had 60% churn, for example, like we wouldn't be able to cash flow the first year.
No.
So like there would have been implications to our P&L regardless of how we did it.
But it's also how we position ourselves. Like we are a local community fitness studio, right? And that's what we call ourselves. That's what we brand ourselves. All of the testimonials all include that word community. So for us, it was just so important that any big decision we make that is going to impact the community, they have a say on. And that's why we did it, is because we can't call ourselves a community and do things in secret behind their backs without much care for what they think.
Yeah, 100%.
And turns out they told us what they think.
Yeah. So we sent the email, and Jake and I thought we'd hang back just at the location, talk about how it went. We thought it went great. We even had our wives in the Zoom, and we got feedback off them, and they said, yeah, they think it went great. We thought we'd hang back for the first few votes when the votes come in. So Jake was on paper form, like collecting these votes. And like out of the first 10 votes that come back, 8 of them said no, they don't want to go. And we thought, that's weird. Maybe their hand slipped. But we thought, right, Jake, I'm going to go home. And so I got home about 9:30. I thought, I'll just keep on checking in with you, Jake.
Well,
you got the data.
I got stuck on the motorway on the way home, which again was another sign. I was like, if I'm having to do this drive every day, then we've got a problem. But yeah, I started seeing, I'm getting my phone out because I want to get some feedback in place to maybe read out a few before obviously we reach the conclusion of this story. But yeah, like every vote, I'd say for every one vote of yes, I'm going to move, we had like 3 that were no.
Yeah.
So to us, immediately after all that build up and, organizing contractors, all that kind of stuff, for us, it was just like, wow. Like for the last 6 months,
I got a lot of calls to make again.
Yeah. For the last 6 months, we've been feeling invincible, right? Every kind of decision we've made has worked in our favor. And I think maybe in hindsight, we got a little bit too excited. We wanted to expand very fast. And actually, from the feedback we've got, all of those people that voted no, again, this was a lovely thing. Like all of those members that voted no sent us long emails explaining why they voted no. It wasn't just a case of them being difficult. There were genuine reasons why they weren't happy to move. And a lot of those emails included stuff that I think we knew but we hadn't necessarily put too much value on. And it just goes to show, I mean, the big lesson of this podcast, and we'll talk about lessons and things like that and what we've learned from this whole process in a sec. But like, it goes to show that your product as a fitness studio owner, if you own a gym, like, is not necessarily, the value isn't necessarily attributed to the equipment and to the space. It's the people that you're able to bring on as members. And for a lot of them, it's the fact that they have such a lovely community. It's the fact that they can jump into their sessions whenever they need, where, you know, the value isn't necessarily loads of people like a normal gym. The reason that they've chosen us is because it's small, it's intimate, it's personal. And yeah, that was kind of the huge takeaway for me, at least.
Yeah. I mean, just some of the feedback that we had come in was, one of the biggest things was they love the how small it is in here, like how it's what was the word that was used quite a lot?
Unique.
Yeah, unique. How it's small, and they felt like that would be certainly diluted if we went to a bigger site.
I'm going to read out some of the emails we got, obviously keeping them anonymous. But so one of them was like, I was a bit unsure about the larger groups of 20.
Yeah.
I like the small group thing. So that was one that people didn't necessarily want to do their sessions with more people. The facility looks amazing. But would the community aspect be the same? I like the fact that you're in a town. The word community, I thought, was not only related to group of members, but to the town too, which is a fair point because, you know, a lot of our marketing in the launch of this studio was the fact that we're a high street studio. Yep. We're here to support other neighboring businesses and things like that. So that was one. But again, like, all of them were just, I love how unique it is. I can walk to the gym, which is so handy for me.
Convenience.
You know, the smaller capacity is what attracted me to it in the first place. Otherwise, you know, it would just feel like another gym.
Yeah.
So again, all of these like marketing plays that we use about us not being another gym and, you know, all of this stuff, I kind of get their point, because we'd be moving into a premises which was huge, which, you know, it like pure gym or whatever wouldn't look out of place there, right? Like the same kind of like square footage. And for a lot of our members, the feedback we got was like just a reminder of just size doesn't matter.
Yeah.
that is my overriding point, and I would take that to my grave.
Thank God. Thank God. What is, I think the biggest learning for me, moving on swiftly, is that calm the down.
Yeah.
Just calm down.
Calm the beep down.
Yeah. Because you don't have to run so quickly. And actually, we've grown something pretty amazing in 6 months. Maybe just hang and enjoy it and refine it and get better. So I think that's our plan. I think we're going to... I clearly, like, scaling up to a big HQ isn't what people want.
Yeah.
So we'll probably look to build multiple smaller locations, which kind of fall in line with what Revamp stands for and what Revamp is. And that's really cool to know in a way. It's further validation of what we have right now works for the members we have, which is just awesome to know in a way. And that's what we tried. We tried to take the positive out of it because clearly it's validation of what we have is working and people love it.
Yeah. And like, again, so many people said, like, don't try and reinvent the wheel. Like, you've got a winning formula here. Like, and again, when you read this stuff in your inbox, you're like, yeah, that's obvious. That makes sense. But you just get carried away. And I think the first 6 months here, because we sprinted it, you know, in relation to many other gyms or other studios, like what we've done in 6 months is what many would probably take 6 years to do. So, but just because we've been able to move that fast at the beginning doesn't necessarily mean we have to always move that fast. Mm-hmm. You know, the next 6 months doesn't have to move as fast as the first. And I think that's fine. It's almost like, again, if you get a head start on your race, you can just kind of just jog for a bit and then, you know, and then sprint whenever you want after that. And I just think, I mean, look at our day to day, right? Like, I get here, I join in one of the sessions, speak to some members, do all the work that we need to do, obviously, in prep for this podcast. And then we go on like a 45-minute walk. that might not necessarily be what happens if we were to own a huge space with loads more members and loads more emails and, loads more on the timetable and loads more coaches all in place. Again, there's benefits of that, clearly. That's why we decided that was the route we wanted to go down. But equally, like, there's a cost to everything. And I think expanding too quick, just for the sake of expanding and growing, doesn't necessarily mean that's the right thing to do right there in the moment.
I think we can end it there.
Yeah. Cool. Well, there you go, guys. That's our big mistake for the week.
Yeah.
I mean, this is one of the things, right? We promised when we started this podcast, we're not just going to share like the wins. There's going to be things that, we potentially don't do as well as we hoped, or maybe we kind of misjudge a few things. And that was one of them. So again, hopefully if you're sitting there right now thinking the obvious thing to do right now is to expand and go and get a bigger site and more classes and more sessions and more PTs, just check in with your members first, because you might be making a mistake.
It's so funny because, just a quick one, we in the morning, Jake looked at me and he went, "Wow, we got that wrong." And I went, "We did." Yeah. Anyway, guys, that's the pod.
Yeah. See you later, guys.